Mr. Jankowski said he wanted to get the bugs out of this room, and here I thought he didn't know they were here.
No, we don't know there's bugs here. All right.
You gotta think about that
Is there
one.
anyone else that you guys
Marty
are aware
got
of
it.
that is planning to come here? Okay, why don't we get started then, all right? This is our new city manager, Dr. Marty Moore. I'll let him introduce himself and take it a little bit, and then we'll ask some questions.
Okay, absolutely. Yeah, I'm Dr. Marty Moore. I go by Marty most of the time. So, I'm down here right now in Eunice, New Mexico. I'm really happy to be there. I've been city manager here in Eunice for a little over 7.5 years. And we're looking forward to getting back there and visiting with, a lot of family back there. In New York. My wife and I have been married. We just had our 33rd wedding anniversary here July 26th, and just had a couple of weddings. So we're excited to add a couple new members to the family. Got 5 grandchildren, 7 kids, and I've done a lot of things professionally, obviously down here in the West and the Southwest, and I'm really looking forward to coming back to Batavia. A lot of the things that are happening there in Batavia are similar things that we've been working with over here. So,
Marty, Marty, this is Dan Fisher from WBTA. To come all the way across country from New Mexico to here is quite a leap, literally and figuratively. What causes you, what makes you believe that this is the right place for you at this time?
Well, I'll tell you what, I really did a lot of research into all the places that I applied to. And Batavia is one of those areas, things like downtown revitalization, bringing new businesses in, the types of things, the financial structures that are set up, the good things that your previous people there at the city have done, have created, I think, a good atmosphere. It's really a progressive, want to move forward, can do, all in type of attitude, and that's the type of attitude that I have. So it just really felt good. It felt right. And I do think I've got a lot of things that I can bring to the table. I'm an open door policy type of person. I like to be able to, if I have time for people, I do like to visit with them. If I don't, then I like to say, okay, we'll get back and we'll get together.
Marty, you brought up about you're an open door kind of guy. Reading some of your background that I was able to find, I know that you had applied for a job in Cortez, New Mexico, I believe, and the process. I'm sorry?
Yeah, Cortez, Colorado. Actually.
Oh, Colorado, I'm sorry. But it seemed to me to be a very open process to a point where all 5 candidates were invited in to meet the public. The process here was entirely secretive. In fact, your name wasn't even known until minutes before the city council took a vote. What method did you prefer? Would you describe your approach to government as one that's more transparent than we've had here?
My approach to government is transparent. I mean, if it's something that needs to be, or the public has a right to know, then I don't have a problem sharing it. I think if the people who I serve, know what's going on, I think it makes it a lot easier for me to get work done, and I think it helps them feel a lot more comfortable. And with employees as well. I think it's good for them to just know where I stand, and if I'm wrong, then they'll tell me.
Having never been to Eunice, this is Jim Krenslick from the Daily News. Just what are the types of issues that you deal with on a weekly basis? It seems almost foreign to us to look at it on a map, and it looks like it's the middle of the desert somewhere.
Well, it is. It's an interesting. You mentioned at the middle of the desert. We probably have about as many oil pump jacks as Batavia has trees. So it is a different mentality. A lot of industrial traffic coming through. We have 2 or 3 state highways. we have a number of similar issues, infrastructure issues with water, sewer. Roads is a big issue for us. We're right in the middle of redoing a significant percentage of our roads. So we do have some issues, related to climate, obviously. It's more hot than cold here. We actually do have cold spells. Climate-wise, we sit right on the dry line. That means that the line between tornadoes and no tornadoes often shifts east or west of us. So, those types of issues, particularly in the springtime and early summer, we are constantly on the alert for. For me, some of the things in areas that I've lived, like Flagstaff, which is a drier climate in Arizona, but, snow in the winter and those kind of things, I've actually lived through. So it's not like, those kind of things are foreign to me. But yeah, it is different. It helps me a little bit, with my wife's family, all being from upstate New York. It's not like I'm completely foreign to upstate New York either.
How often do you get to come here?
Not very often. I think we've been there a few times, maybe a handful over the last few years. My wife's been back there back and forth a little bit the last couple of years because of her mother passing away. She lost her mother earlier this year.
Marty, you may be familiar with measuring snow in inches or even fractions of an inch. We measure it in feet. And
we had a running joke, actually, the mayor and I here in Eunice. I came here and he says it never snows in Eunice, and I told him, I said, Mayor, please don't ever say never. But you're right. I mean, our biggest snowstorm was Winter Storm Goliath when it was snowed 25 inches, and
we call that a dusting, Marty.
I drove through Albuquerque once, and it was there was 2 or 3 feet of snow on the ground. So, this is Howard Owens from the Batavian. Tell me about the government there. How many employees? What's your budget? How many department heads do you deal with?
I deal with 10 different department heads. Our overall budget right now is higher a little bit. It's closer to 15 to 17 million because of some bond work that we're doing. Our budget runs around 8 to 10 million. And right now here, I've got about 50 full-time employees. And then we've got, of course, let's say 22 volunteers over in the fire department. And other places, like with counties I've been, I've worked with upwards of 300 employees at a time. So,
what's the economic development picture in Eunice? What do you got going on, and are there agencies that deal with that, or is that a city function?
Well, we work together with our county and the state of New Mexico. Our economy right here is driven in large part by the oil economy of the nation. As the prices of oil go, significant number of jobs. There is a nuclear enrichment facility that's about 3 miles west of our city limits, and they employ 200 to 300 people. And then we have some concrete companies and some other oil field related businesses that make up the bulk of what we do here. Right now, the economy is good. Our gross receipts are getting closer to, they've picked up our gross receipts about 55–60% since we hit bottom.
Has that tracked with the price of oil over the last few months?
It does. It usually lags about 3 to 4 months from wherever the price of oil goes up or down. We'll see a change in the gross receipts revenue.
In terms of moving from a community that has like a big industry like that to one where I think a lot of the issues that citizens will bring up are in their neighborhoods. How do you want to embrace that? I know it's not the thing where you're gonna land here on October 15th and walk every foot of sidewalk here, but how do you want to roll out and become this person who the citizens know?
Well, I'm going to do a lot more than just sit in my office and say you can come by and visit. I will be actively going out in the community and talking to people, talking to businesses, talking to different groups. And then I work with Rotary right now. I work with other organizations. I make it a habit, even here in Eunice, of talking with people, going out directly. I just think that it's much better to be proactive like that instead of just sitting back and waiting for it to come to me. As far as the neighborhood and those types of businesses, ironically, you should say that because our downtown revitalization that we've done here, we were able to get, I think, somewhere 24 ribbon cuttings on businesses that we were able to bring in, more the mom and pop type, the neighborhood type. So I feel like that's one thing we've been trying to do here is diversify to help soften the blow, because it's a boom and bust cycle here. Price of oil goes down, the economy goes down. The more we can do is soften that blow, the better off we are here in Eunice. So up there, where I really think that Logan is all in on that new downtown revitalization initiative, I agree with that. I intend to be there and ready to jump all in. I don't just jump in blind though. I mean, I am going to make sure I get with the economic development folks. I will work closely with the city council, and I am going to listen to the opinions of the people that are out there that are actually affected. So I think in those ways that will help. I like to really know and have a flavor. And it doesn't take a long time. It's just a matter of making the effort. Really make people feel like that I'm there, for Batavia, not just there to sit in the chair. So.
What do you think the role of the city manager is in a city of 15,000 people?
Well, there's multiple functions, but there's a business function of the city to make sure that it's running well, both logistically and financially. I do believe in proper and encourage good investment. I don't believe in wasteful spending. So on that financial side, that's where I approach it. As far as my other roles, making sure things work with the employees, making sure with the collective bargaining agreements that we have here, that those are running properly and that we're following them, and that we've got good relations. And then I see a community side of it, where I'm actively engaged actually out there in Batavia, talking with people, joining different organizations where I need to be on boards that don't interfere with my duties with the business of the city, to be involved there as well. So that's kind of how I see my role. I do like to interact with people. I like to make sure information is shared where I can share it. And like with those of you with your various media and the press, I'm not on the news reporter side, but I am on the sports side. I've been on the radio as the voice of the Eunice Cardinals for the last 6 years. And so I do understand there's relationships there and the need to know information and to make sure that it's shared in a good and timely manner. So,
Marty, Dan Fisher again from WBTA, one of America's two great radio stations.
I bet the other one's in Eunice. We finally figured that out.
Our city charter grants really a lot of power to the city manager, and in our community, more power is vested in the city manager than the county charter vests in our county manager. You are really the chief executive officer of the city. Technically, you've been hired by our city council, but to whom do you feel more accountable? To the city council directly or the people of our community?
Well, I'm obviously accountable, from my employment contract standpoint to the city council, but as a city manager, I am hired to represent the people who live, work, and play in the city of Batavia. And I am accountable to them. I don't see myself as being shielded from them. I see myself as having a responsibility. I've learned in my career that it's important to show myself as a servant of the people, not as this guy who sits back in the office and expects everything to come to him. It's not my style. Like, I get very, if I even tried to do that, I would get very bored very quickly. So it's my style, and it's my belief that the city manager, with rights and authority come responsibility. I think there's two sides of it. So I think the more, that they say that I have authority to do things, the more responsibility I have to make sure I'm clearly communicating what's happening. Not everybody's going to agree with what I do, and I'm going to expect that. And if somebody doesn't agree with what I'm doing, I expect they'll call me on it. And that's only fair and right. So that's my personal approach to it.
Give me an example of one thing that, from your observation so far, the City of Batavia is doing right, and one thing that you think needs to be corrected.
Right now, I think the City of Batavia trying to get its economic revitalization taken care of, I think is something that I think that's an idea that's in the right direction. I really do. Another thing that I think is right, I've looked at some of the city's financials, and I think that they're going well in that direction. As far as the city's infrastructure and getting grants implemented, I think those can move along more aggressively. I really, really think that those are highly important and need to be taken care of. I think that I've heard from different people. Some have said, that we've got some crime issues related to property crimes and those kind of things that I'm sure our police chief is having, I'm not going to say fun with, but I'm certain that he is working hard on. And one of the things that I sense is the need for a feeling of openness and transparency with the employees and with the citizens there in Batavia coming from the city manager. I think that's something that needs to be addressed. I think that those kind of things that are addressed, that a lot of anxieties that people feel would, be eased. That's one thing I think. When you don't have clear communication, my goodness, all kinds of rumors and feelings and challenges and difficulties arise. So I do see that as a challenge to make sure that those kind of things are really stepped up on and improved.
A lot of the crime that goes on is directly has to do with the drug problem that goes on here. Do you have much of that kind of problem where you are?
We do. In fact, when we hired, the first year I was here, we hired a new police chief. And one of the reasons when we got with him and he first started, we had people openly transacting, drug deals on their front porches and that type of a thing. And I got with him and said, we need strategies to work with this and deal with this. And so we worked together, my office worked together with the police chief and with the county and with our drug task force. And we also worked together with the schools to make sure we have.
He was doing so well.
Hey, can you still hear me?
Yep, you're back. You're back.
You're talking about working with the schools.
Got rid of anyway, back to what I was saying is we got together and worked together with the schools. We worked together with talking with the local businesses. And I got with our chief and we made it clear, drugs are not something that we want to be known for in the city of Eunice. And I'm not going to say it's perfect. Drug deals still do go on, but those drug deals have gone underground. And we have had some successful, drug raids and those kind of things to be able to address some of the dealers and those kind of things. So I see working together with the police chief on his strategies making sure, and another type of thing too is it ties to some of your economic issues too. Because we have found in the cycle that when economic times are harder for people, that there is at least a level of relationship to amount of drug activity that goes on. So I do believe that working assertively on revitalization of areas where you'll have a lot of empty vacant buildings and where you've got people sitting idle or without good paying jobs, I think those help some. It's not an end all of it. I believe honestly, and one of the things we have done and continue to do is work cooperatively for Batavia, working within the micropolitan area, working with the town, working with Genesee County, working with the others surrounding us in the state, and taking a look at what is working, taking a look at what ideas can improve. Each community, even where we are, the city of Eunice is smaller. City of Hobbs, which is up the road of 50, 60,000 people, is bigger. Our strategies differ. So working together, but still recognizing we have individual strategies within each community to address the problem.
You're on a 3-year contract, but can you just talk to me of how far out your goals go? How do you develop goals? What is your process for taking on an initiative?
Yeah, I work. One of the things I've learned from a couple of very good board chairmen and mayors is we have short-term immediate goals that we address now. And then I like to look 1, 2, 5, 10, and 20 plus years out. And regardless, I act as a city manager as if I'm going to be there 20 plus years, and we're going to plan out that far on the long term. And then that way, see, when you work at those different levels, let's say I get 5 years in on 20 years and things look different and it has to be adjusted, you're adjusting. But if you've got something there that you're shooting at, it's a lot easier to make the adjustments. So I'd like to strategically plan out that far and continually keep the eye on the ball in the short and mid range as well. The other thing I like to do is, and I'll do this when I get to Batavia, is I get a project board. And I will have that project board hanging in my office. And anybody that wants to see what major projects are going on in the city, and if I'm not there, all they have to do is go and look and see where we're at on progress. And if it's unclear, call me. So I like to do that because it helps me. I like to be able to visualize what's going on. And the other thing I learned too is to make sure that those things that we have and deadlines that we have to have are kept track of in the digital age on my computer. But I don't always trust computers completely, so I carry around a hand planner as well. And I like to make sure we currently have at least monthly staff meetings, so that we talk about what's going on in the city and see how what we're doing is working and moving forward, if it relates to another department, or it helps them to know what's going on, in my chair in the city management position. That it just helps. It goes back to that communication thing. So making sure the plans are out in those steps and making sure the communication, again, is clear to the parties that need to be talked.
What would be your top 3 things you would put on that board when you first get here?
I would put on there my top 3 things. I would put on there, get to know all the department heads and the employees right away. You've told me 3. Mm-hmm. So I have 4, but you told me 3. So I would do that. Do more. And I would include city council members in that one. Okay. And the second one that I would make sure if there was any hiccup in downtown revitalization initiative that got off the dime and moving. And my third one would be, honestly, to communicate clearly where we're going and what we're doing. I think those would be the top three. Now, if you wanted me to say as far as a specific project,
Yeah,
replace that with, I would say I'd want to look at what the housing situation is. I would definitely want to take a hard look at that as one of the top priorities for the city. And then I would also want to look at what the status of the infrastructure is and what our needs are of the city, and making sure that those are moving forward. Those would be my top initial priorities.
what do you mean by the housing situation?
I'd like to see, what the condition is of different housing. Like, for example, with low-income housing, if you have in the city, what's its condition? Do we have enough houses for single-family people? Do young families feel safe coming into Batavia or different parts of Batavia? Where is the housing at? Is it in or out of the flood zone? Those kind of things.
You've mentioned some issues that there's been a lot of coverage of. Have you followed that coverage? It's all available online. Have you gone back and read archives?
Very limited coverage, but I've seen very limited coverage, but I picked up on it when I was over there, because I did I like to snoop around, and I did a little poking around, quietly while I was there.
Back to the drug question. What's the bigger issue there, meth or heroin?
Right now, well, where I live here, it's meth. Over there, I honestly couldn't tell you if it was meth or heroin was the bigger issue.
Well, here, I think most people tell you it's heroin. I was just curious what you're dealing with there. You mentioned too, that working with the press and being transparent and working through the press to communicate. I'm just curious what your dealings, both in this job and say your previous county manager job, how many reporters do you get at your meetings there? How many reporters do you have covering you regularly? What's your relationship with the local media? Is it just print? Is it online? Is it television? What's the mix that you're dealing with?
Well, we do get occasional from the radio stations out of Midland or Odessa, Texas, because that's the area that covers us, believe it or not. We don't get them often, just once every 3 or 4 months or so. Mostly it's radio and print here, and we have some online, but radio and print's what I deal with directly. And they have if you need to call me relationship. The reporters, we've got very good relationship with them, both the radio stations. Well, it helps me with radio because the Noah Mark Broadcasting Group, which owns most of the radio stations here, I work on a contractual basis for sports broadcasting, so they just know how to get a hold of me. And but as far as the print media, we just got each other's numbers, and if something's coming up, if there's something I feel like I need to let you know about, I just call, or if you need some information, just holler, and we'll work to get it to you.
I guess two things to your background. Just wondering, one, how do you get into this business? What was this path that you took here, and how and why does one get a PhD in political science? What is the secret that you've unlocked for, I don't know what it is, for sanity or ease of issues?
Good question. I actually got into this, I went to work for a county, initially, this will date me, but back in the early 1990s, 92, 93, I had done some stuff with housing authorities and those kind of things, but those were just for a few months at a time while I was going to school. But I really got into it with the counties, and they saw my background was working on my doctorate, and I happen to have background in environmental related issues, water, forest, fire, those kind of issues. And they happened to be hot button issues for the county I was at the time. And so they asked me if I'd be interested. And so I took that position. So it was almost like I slid into it. And then when I got into it, I really liked it. And that's how I got my start. That was back. So here I am 25 years later. As far as how did I get into the doctorate, I actually went to them, talked to them about an MPA degree, Master's of Public Administration at Northern Arizona University. And the department head at the time looked at me, and he just looked at me and he said, we have a shortage of doctoral students. Are you interested? And so that was one of those. I told him I was interested, and I had to go home and tell my wife I'm interested in the doctorate. And then I was already working in public administration somewhat. I'd gotten a real interest in it in classes I'd taken in really a minor undergraduate. And then I took some classes in local government and on the environmental side, and I really liked those. And I finished my dissertation while I was had already started work for Apache County there at the mid-management level. And that's kind of how I got into those. As far as how do I deal with them, I'll be honest, when I first started, I had probably about as thin a skin as anybody could have. But I learned pretty quickly that, you can't take things personally. If somebody disagrees with what I'm doing, or they may even throw names or something out there, just got to remember that it goes with the position. These are people who are wanting something done or feel like something needs to change differently for them in their lives that the city or county's doing. In my case there, with Apache County, Otero County, with the City of Eunice, and just learn not to take it personally. I think that's advice I would give to anybody who's trying to move up and manage. You've got to learn how to grow that thick skin, and learn how to just recognize that people want answers, and if they're not getting the answer they want, they're going to get upset. And you need to try to help them get the answers. If you can't get them the answer they want, you just say, I'm sorry, I can't get you the answer you want. I've tried, I can't, and if they don't, you learn to work with it. Otherwise, a person can get chewed up pretty easy. I mean, you can get chewed up and spit out, in upper management with a city or with a corporation or anybody else. You don't know how to learn that, what people say. In fact, I have found that almost all the time later on, they come back and they say, well, I'm sorry, I got upset the other day. I just had this and this and this. So experience has really played a lot for me on that too. It's just, I've learned that, you work with people and take them as they are. And if somebody's really blunt, I just tell them that's fine. I'm straightforward too, so it doesn't bother me.
So I don't think you're going to be worried about working with a city council that can be, demanding at times, delicate at times.
I know 8 of us work along pretty good.
Yeah.
Here. I don't know about the 9th one.
There's 9 very special people that we elect in the city here. Just, did you see kind of how that your appointment went? You did get 8 votes for and 1 loud vote no. How did you react to that? Because obviously this has been something that you were ready to tell your city, but to see how it went here from hundreds or thousands of miles away.
Yeah. When I looked at that, I thought, well, somebody had a reason to vote no, and I'll visit with them and say, okay, what's up? What's the hang up? And what can I do to help you? And I'm not going to take anything personally. And that is really a nuance I found with a lot of places. Our city council has people with very similar personalities to the ones on Batavia, believe it or not. So that was one of the things I looked at and observed, and I thought, wow, I honestly didn't think I would see a duplicate of what I worked with here. And when I made the announcement last night to officially, I called all the city council members over here in Eunice after I had gotten a call on the appointment. And then I made a call and I announced it in the meeting and stuff. And all they said to me is, they said, well, if you change your mind, let us know, because we should love the people. And that means, coming, and this came from the spectrum of those who are quiet to those who are outspoken. I even had a couple of them tell me that when we first hired you, quote, I really didn't like you. But, you know, now I wish you'd stay. I always see if somebody has a challenge or an issue, I see it as a personal challenge to try to make sure, you know, and help them feel like that I'm going to be there to represent their concerns as well.
Let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
One more question each
Well,
or whatever.
So I was going to ask you this. So Jason Molino, when he left the men's hockey league team without a goalie. Do you play hockey?
I do not play hockey, I'm not going to lie. I play with the fly rod, but I don't play hockey.
Good fly fishing up here.
Yeah, I've heard that. I intend to take advantage of it.
Beyond whatever we've asked you about, what is something that you can say that people have a better understanding of you? What you like to do, just how you live your life?
Sure. What do I like to do? I like to work with people. So I'll be honest with you, being a city manager is exciting for me. I like it at work. And I'd be crazy to be staying in the job if I didn't. But I'm an outdoors kind of guy. I like to hike. I like to fish. My sons and I climb mountains. We've done 22 of the state high points, and we have a goal to try to finish up the rest. I play the piano. I like to play piano. That was my major instrument. Played it for quite a few years. And I like to sing. And I enjoy my family. Family's a really big deal to me. So my wife and kids and going back. And I feel very fortunate because I've always had a great relationship with my wife's, brothers and sisters and all those kind of things. So, and we've gotten some, Facebook and texts and calls and stuff from them. They're really excited. So I like to spend time with family quite a bit.
Well, how many kids and ages? How many kids and ages?
We've got 7 kids. And my wife, if she was here, she'd probably be testing me to make sure I get them right. But anyway, my oldest one was born in 1986, so she's going to be 32 this September. And my second one, her name's Jessica. They live in St. John's, Michigan, about 6 hours from Batavia. My second one, Spencer, he works for Sandia National Laboratories over in Albuquerque and lives in Rio Rancho, New Mexico. And we got 3 grandkids with them. I forgot to say 2 of our grandkids are in Michigan too. And then our third one, Aubrey, she has her bachelor's degree and she's working up in Provo, Utah right now, trying to figure out her next steps. And then our fourth one is engaged and she's planning on my third one is, she's still single, by the way. So our fourth one, Melissa, she's 20, I've got to get this right. She's going to be 24. No, she is 24. She turned 24 on August 6th. And she was born in 1994. And she currently lives in Cloudcroft, New Mexico, where we have a summer house up there right now. And we're helping them out a little bit. She's engaged and they're going to get married next June. And then we got our daughter Amanda was the one who just got married. She's number 5, and she was born in 95, so she's going to be 23 here in October, and she just, I'm not going to too much of a story, but she just married a young man from Kenai, Alaska. Oh. So, and we met halfway in Boise for the wedding, and they're planning on living in Idaho and going to school. Let's see, Christopher. He is a year younger than her. He was born in 96, and he just got married on July 27th. And he and his wife are living in Las Cruces, New Mexico, and he is going to school to become a chemical engineer. And then our youngest, Marty Moore Jr., is 17 and a senior in high school, and just looking forward to landing in school somewhere.
So is he going to be coming to school here? Or is he going to stay out there for his last year?
my wife and I are actually talking about just bringing him over. We're gonna try and get with, the superintendent over there in Batavia and in Eunice and see what we can work out so he can graduate. He's a senior.
Mm-hmm.
So, the big deal is him, and he's finishing up his Eagle Scout here right now. So, gonna get him through his Eagle project and then go from there.
Have you found a place to live yet?
Not yet.
No?
Not yet.
Still looking.
I'm gonna be heading over there. I've been looking pretty vigorously though.
Okay.
And I'll be calling. I had one of the council members offer to give me some suggestions, so I know I'll be asking for suggestions. Lisa, if you got suggestions, I'll ask you too.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
Reliant Realty advertises with us and WBTA. Just throw that out there.
Did you, I'm sorry, I might have missed it. What is your wife's name?
My wife's name is Joanne, Joanne, and she was born in Buffalo, and they grew up in Tonawanda, right off there, just off the Niagara River there. And then she moved actually, I married her in Hawaii because her dad retired from Western Electric and then moved and took a job in retirement over there. And I went over because I had an uncle over there. So I went over there to go to school for a semester or two, just thinking, okay, yeah, that'll be fun. And then I met my wife and my parents were like, you didn't meet somebody in Hawaii, did you? And I said, yes, I did. So, and then my wife has, we've been back to New York to visit, but I told my wife, I said, 33 years living in the West, it's her turn to be able to live close to her family, so.
We about time? We about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm done.
All right, well,
Dr. Moore, it's rare that I get a chance as the senior member of the press corps to adjourn a news conference, but I will do it. And thank you, Dr. Moore.
All right.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Marty.
you very much. And if you guys have any follow-ups, feel free to call.
We would certainly will. Lisa, you want to
I'll
finish it up? We'll see you soon.
We'll be in touch,
Nice
Marty.
meeting you virtually.
Take care.
Bye.
You too.
Bye.